Good evening and welcome everyone. You're watching Sim Experience South Africa. It is the MX5 Cup and we are setting up for Division 2. So just to quickly run you through the standings before we get going. So in the standings, of course, this is both divisions combined. It's round 3. We're doing CROFT, and leading the standings is Dennis Mitchell, then Timo Smit, Pieter Grobler, Melvin Gous, Dylan Versaghi, James Crook, Richard van Heerde, Tommy Leary Moss, Michael Rust, Mornay Deploy, Ian Upton, Craig Wesley. And then 30th position, Pieter Galnhuys, Herman Nieuwoud, Sean Johnson, André Hildebrand, Sean Willevier, Rian van der Westhuizen, Dani van der Rooyen, Marius van Wyk, Steven Sparks, Alistair Barnard, Willem Stein, Dani Stander. And then 25th position, James Leach, Sean Weber, Hilke Birenga, Basil van Rijn, Gabi Gous, Dean van Wyk, Stuart Mack, Keen Gous, James Leach Jr., Gijsbert Achtinagel, Matt Williams, and Nico Smith. Just having a quick look at our track map. So we are racing at CROFT, and you can see they established 1931. This is another one of those British airfield tracks. So originally this was based on the layout of the airfield track and then kind of took its own form from there. So 4.0 kilometers long. It's a very interesting and tight and twisty circuit. Very well suited for these cars, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. In terms of the weather, we started practice at 3 p.m. It's now already half an hour later. Then clear skies, as you can see, 21 degrees Celsius for the air, so it's nice and cool for the engines. They'll be operating at optimum efficiency, and then 31 degrees Celsius for the track, so that's going to be looking very good. So in terms of times, we've got some nice solid ones on the board. As we see, Gijsbert Uitnagel jumping to 4th position. But out in the front, we've got Keen Gous sitting on pole, or provisional pole, looking very good with the 36.9. Everyone else still have to dip into those 36s, so that's a very good position for Keen Gous. And we saw him making some waves in the races at Barcelona. Then another person whose name was very prominent, and unfortunately he's had a bit of a rough time, is going to be Sean Willevier. He showed a lot of pace in the previous races, unfortunately just had a little bit of bad luck, but it's going to be interesting to see whether he's going to be able to take the fight to Keen Gous. And then don't discount the other drivers in here as well. We saw Gijsbert Uitnagel really fighting for it. So it's going to be a very interesting race. In terms of everyone on the YouTube channel, big hello to Cleopas, and one hell of a name that you've got for the rest of it there. Then all of the SRAC supporters, drivers and participants out there, big warm welcome to all of you. I know I'm grouping you all, but there is a lot of support for you, so I'm just going to kind of group it like that. It's always good to see that kind of support, and the other teams, take note. You should definitely get that support up and going for your teams. It's always fun to see the team supporting their members. Then we've got Dennis Mitchell in there saying hi, and also wishing some of the drivers good luck. And yeah, Pieter Grobler, welcome to you. Tommy Leary Moss, big welcome to you as well. We've seen quite some action from that gentleman in Div 1. And yeah, I apologize. Oh yeah, Matt Williams and Gary Johnson, hello to you as well. And Gary Johnson saying good luck to Sean Johnson. Pieter Grobler also supporting Keen Gous. and then Craig Wesley as well. So yeah, Quali is finishing up for Div 2, and it looks like Keen Goos is going to be out in front. I apologize, I've been keeping it on focused on one car at the moment, so that might be why. Competition Goos is troublesome sometimes. Unfortunately, Atinagel and Sean Olivier are not going to be able to challenge Keen Goos. Richard van Heerden not able to find the time. I think that's going to be him. So we seem to have our grid set up for the race. It's going to be Keen Goos, Sean Olivier, Atinagel, Richard van Heerden, Nico Smit, Sean Johnson, Ross Iman, Rian van Westhuizen, James Leach Sr., Dani Stander, Andre Hildebrand, Marius van Wyk, and then yeah, that should be the drivers. So I'm quickly going to send you to the realm of advertisements, and then we will be right back after these short messages. Welcome back, everyone. So we're gridded up, we're ready to go. Corsa has relegated his racing engineer to the TV room. So he's been ready to get going. And the rest of the guys look ready as well. We just need a few more cars on track. I don't think they want to be revving their engines that much. You might get stuck without fuel for the end of the race. But yeah, so 6 lights, we're ready to get going. Everyone's revving their engines, kind of getting into that ideal rev range. So ready to get going. 6 lights. And we are off. So a very good start for Corsa, but right next to him, we've got Sean Olivier just charging ahead, trying to get that position. So they're going to go side by side into the first corner. Sean's just going to get that close. Oh, still side by side. We see we're losing one of the cars behind. That's going to be him. And then Olivier still not able to make that gap on Corsa as we pile through the backside of the circuit. Everyone getting away quite cleanly. And it's going to look very good. So, entering Tower Bend. No insane gaps opening yet. I think Corsa might have created a little comfortable lead for himself. Meanwhile, behind them, we've got Gijsbert Attendagel in a battle with Van Heerden as they pile on through to Corft, Sunny in and Sunny out. So this being Sunny in, when we can see Atti getting really close to the back end there of Van Heerden. He needs to be careful though. He's got Van der Westhuizen right behind him as well. He's also looking for an opportunity. Atti coming under pressure here from Van der Westhuizen. Is he going to have to leave up on the inside? No, he doesn't. Behind them, you can also see Sean Johnson wanting a piece of the action, looking for any opportunity whatsoever. Unfortunately, Attendagel getting turned as the rest of the cars pile on through. I do not think he's going to be happy about that one. You can see them widening the track as they trying to get the best exit. Hildebrand almost getting cut off there. Really careful with Sean Johnson behind him here. Unfortunately, I think there might have been a bit of a mix-up with Olivier at the front. So Olivier dropping back to 3rd position, and now under pressure from Van der Westhuizen as well. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but it's not looking good for Olivier. Back behind, Hildebrand getting overtaken by Sean Johnson here, and Sean Johnson just carrying a massive amount of speed through the corner, through Corft, now through Sunny in. And Olivier feeling the pressure through Sunny out, now heading into the complex. On the inside, Van der Westhuizen just trying to look for opportunity, just showing his nose, trying to work himself into the head of Olivier. Van der Westhuizen into the fray as well. So now they're running Olivier, Van der Westhuizen and Johnson coming down the main pit straight. You can see there, Sean Olivier, 1 minute 41. It's almost 3 seconds slower than the competitors around him. And in front of them, they've got someone off there. I'm not exactly sure. I think that might be Van Heerden that's had a bit of a mistake there. So now, running Van Heerden, Olivier, Van der Westhuizen and Johnson, all of them vying for position. As the 4 of them all within almost a second of one another. So this is going to make it very difficult for Olivier. He's going to get pinned by the 2 cars here, and he barely has the pace to keep Olivier at bay. Sorry, Van der Westhuizen at bay. through CROFT now, sunny in, and this is going to be crucial. It's a very difficult corner, the sunny in and sunny out. It's kind of like a big double apex corner. Okay, now let's see what can happen here. So through the complex and into the hairpin. This is very tricky sequence of corners. This braking zone is so close to that chicane, and it's so crucial to get this exit right. You see all of the drivers getting very close to one another. Post running away with the 137 at the front, so he is making waves, although Van der Westhuizen is doing 136s. I think that might be his proximity. Unfortunately, a car turned there. That's going to be Van der Westhuizen, and he's going to be out of the fight for a bit. Johnson also running very wide there. Could have missed braking markers. So down the back straight we go into Tower Bend. Some side-by-side action here. Wilfried and Van Heerden. Wilfried trying to carry the momentum on the outside, getting pushed a bit. Van Heerden just doing everything that he can to stay in that position, and that's the dangers of being on the outside. You can't always guarantee that your opponent can keep their line in the corner. Unfortunately, that's going to be Van Heerden getting spun around. Things looking a little bit rough for the front runners here. So Olivier now charging on ahead, and I think I'll check what's going on with the rest of the pack. Someone that we've not kept a close eye on has been James Leach Senior. So I've seen a junior here and I've seen a senior. So definitely a family of races here, and it's always interesting to see the families take part in these leagues. And we've also got the Goses, and Keen's dad is watching him from the living room TV. He's not been allowed to be near the sim. He'd like to fight for this on his own. So it's always fun to see things like this. Maris van Wyk getting a bit closer to Richard van Heerden with a 0.6 second gap, and trying to work that down to something a little bit smaller. Unfortunately, not getting the exit he wanted through Hawthorne Bend. You can see that time falling behind. Further behind, we've got Atti Nagel on the drive back. He started up a lot higher on the grid. Unfortunately, I think this might be why he's been having a very rough time. That's going to be Iman and Ati with some contact. Both drivers getting back onto track safely. Ati waiting for the other driver to rejoin. So some gentlemanly racing, even though there has been some contact. And that is the nature of racing. There is always going to be some contact, and it is difficult when you're moving at speed and you get caught off by a mistake from your opponent. And speaking of mistakes, you can see Willoughby running into the grass out of the hairpin. So he's losing some time to... Sorry, Willoughby running wide, and Johnson kind of making use of that to just close that gap a little bit. They're both running in the 136s. So good times for both of these drivers, and I think we're going to have a good fight for second position on our hand. We still have 11 minutes to go. Things are settling in a little bit. Keenan and Goos out in front, just having a blast of a race. And looking very good indeed. Johnson keeping an eye here on Willoughby, trying to find out where is the weakness in his opponent's armor, and it's always tricky because you need to figure out where do you want to launch your attack. And then you need to also keep that information for yourself. It doesn't help that you figure out your faster out of, say, turn 9, and then every time you go through turn 9 you start showing your nose, because that's exactly the information your opponent needs to say, okay, I'm going to be defending here, and then to go from there. So let's see how the hairpin goes here for Johnson. So nice clean exit, not his best, but he's definitely keeping up. So let's see, a 137, so losing 7/10. This has not been the lap for Johnson, as he's struggling a little bit. So I'm also just keeping an eye on the YouTube chat while we're racing. Something I've never seen in the sim racing world, Peter Grobler shouting, "Kom Vrystaat." So just say, yeah, we can say, "Hak Vrystaat." I'm not sure who's driving from the Free State, but if you could point that out, that would be very nice, Peter. But yeah, also lived there for a bit, so I can say it's a wonderful province, especially in the winter, although if you do not like cold, it's not the place for you. Right, so Atinagel again on the drive through the pack as he overtakes Van Wyk, and this time it's done cleanly. So I think he's gotten some of the cobweb sorted. I'm not sure exactly what happened. He might be having some trouble with his steering wheel or his equipment. And it almost feels like these steering wheels are just as easy to break as something on a real racing car. So sometimes you do need to figure out what's happening with that. But I think behind him, Marius van Wyk is trying to use the pace of Atinagel to see whether he can get ahead on him and behind him, trying to utilize that pace from his opponent. So out in front, things are looking a bit more settled. Willivier is comfortably ahead of Sean Johnston. And I think at this point of the race, people are just settling into the grooves. You can see Johnson trying to just find a bit of extra pace, and you can see in his delta, he is quicker than usual. As the fuel loads start going down, it becomes a bit easier to slow down your car, everything's lighter. So that does help quite a bit. So Atinagel again trying to get the move done here on Van Heerden. Unfortunately not able to make the move stick. So he's going to have to tuck in behind and see what he can do through sunny in, sunny out. Unfortunately, that wide is not going to be the correct option. But that has allowed him to take a bit of a wider line, carry a lot more speed through. Unfortunately, he's not been able to utilize that speed as he gets stuck behind Van Heerden. And Van Heerden just making his car very wide. Maybe not placing it that specifically on the circuit, but just making sure that he's in the correct places at the correct phases of the turn. Again, you can see Ati looking for a wider entry, trying to carry the pace through. In the background there, you can see Heeman and Van Wyk having a bit of a battle. As we head into the first corner. Now into Hawthorne Bend. And Ati still just sticking to the back of Van Heerden. He has the pace to keep up. Whether he's got the pace to overtake is a whole different story. Behind him, also a big battle between Heeman and Van Wyk. For now, we're just going to stick here. A little bit of a dummy there from Ati Van Heerden buying it and quickly moving over. Although, I'm not exactly sure what Ati gained from that. So through the gym clock, is through Barcroft into Sunny in. And Sunny out, setting up for it now. So you can see Ati really trying to utilize the full width of the track. Is he going to go for a move on the inside here? You can see the Van Heerden very defensively. Unfortunately, contact between the two drivers. And you'll see Ati waiting for Van Heerden to rejoin. But that is going to provide the opportunity for Himan to come on through. And unfortunately, a bit of contact, a little bit of... Oh, that's not gone well for Van Heerden. So we've got Himan van Wyk and Ati as we go through the last few corners, and then Van Heerden, who's going to be a little bit frustrated from that whole situation. Going back to third place, Sean Johnson is now struggling to keep up with Willefeer, and Sean Willefeer is hunting down that gap between himself and Keen Goos. So while we've got a bit of a quiet time, we're on board with Keen Goos as we round the last few turns of the track. So this is going to be the hairpin onto the main straight. This is very important for your lap time. You can see they're running a bit wide, utilizing some of the what seems to be concrete there on the outside, then sitting up to the left hand side for Clairvaux. Very difficult complex here as you brake, try and keep out of the tire wall, and then it's Hawthorne Bend right after this. Try and keep that speed up, and with these cars you don't have that much acceleration. Now it's the chicane, pretty much straight line that. Then down one of the back straights, setting up Port Tower Bend. Some hard braking, very sharp turn. Early power is going to ruin your exit a little bit, so make sure that you don't understeer and you get a good exit. Now through the gym clock S's, this just breaks up the straight, so you can't really attack through here. Through Barcroft, which is not really much of a turn. And then Sunny in, you can see here, first apex, track out, pull to the exit, and then Sunny in and then Sunny out, which is that one. And then we're heading into the complex near the end of the circuit. This is just called complex, just plainly, but it's a whole bunch of turns, some very tricky ones. And then setting up for the hairpin. So that's been a lap from Keen Goos. He's still losing a little bit of time. That's a 1:36.554. And you can see Willefeer just with a 10th up on Keen Goos, but that's not going to be enough to really close the gap. He's going to need a mistake from Goos. I think Goos might have been just focusing on keeping a very consistent pace going to make sure that he keeps a hold of that lead. He knows that Willefeer is closing in a little bit. He knows he's going to be quicker. He's probably got someone like crew chief keeping an eye on that. But with this little of the race left, it's not really too much of an issue. So back behind here, we've still got some drivers trying to... I think they've separated a little bit. So while we were on board with Keen Goos, they were lapping very close to one another, and there was some swaps happening. But I think they've settled into their positions here. So the race is starting to settle into the final grid positions. I think everyone's just thinking about possibly getting their positions for the finish. And then remember, we do have a race 2 for this division, and it's going to be a reverse grid. So at this point, if you're near the end of the grid, it's not going to be that profitable if you try and get a better position. On front, we saw Kiengo's lapping with a 136.19. I think that was a tenth faster than Willefeeder on the previous lap, so I think he might have put the foot down a little bit. You can see there he's already 1/10 up on his delta, so he just needs to be very careful. You can see him running a very wide, actually very late apex as compared to Willefeeder. Now Kien just needs to keep this consistent. Make sure that there's no mistakes. He's got a lot of time in hand. And the timer has run out. Oof, and that's awfully close. I think he might be sweating from that one. Back behind, Atti Nagel catching up with him on again. So we'll keep an eye on these two, and then I'll keep an eye for you on Kiengo's. Atti looking towards the inside of Himan. A little bit of contact between the drivers, but not much. Nothing to write home about, and that's going to be polished, done and dusted for Atti Nagel. But he still needs to get that gap a little bit bigger for it to be anything comfortable. On the front, Kiengo's crossing the line, and we're now on our final lap. You can see Sean Willefeeder just keeping him in his sights. Not much he can do from way back there unless there's a mistake. Kiengo's wanting to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's going to cost him a little bit of time. Although he's kept it in control, he's held on very nicely. That is going to shake him a bit though, so expect that gap between him and Willefeeder to go down. But over the course of a single lap, that's not going to matter too much. A wide exit there. Utilizing all of the track, keeping it nice and quick. And I am not sure what happened to Willefeeder there. That seems to be a big connection issue. Unfortunately, that's going to be Willefeeder out of the race. That's going to promote Johnson, Van der Westhuizen and Leach, well, a whole bunch of the drivers. I think Koos, unaware of what happened behind him, but coming home for that first position. Someone who's flown under the radar a little bit, Sean Johnson. A well-deserved second place. I think this will be a very wonderful surprise for him. Van der Westhuizen in third position. We've got James Leach Senior heading through the complex into the hairpin. Kind of on his own at the moment. Coming home for a comfortable fourth position. A little bit of shenanigans before the end. Stander and Van Heerden, 5th and 6th. Atti Nagel crossing the line in 7th, then Van Wyk 8th, Himan 9th. And then Hildebrand going to round out the grid for us in position 10. So congratulations to all of the drivers. Hopefully we've got some time to interview them before the Div 1 race. But for now, we're going to prepare for race number 2. So I'm going to send you 2 advertisements, and then we'll get going again. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're setting up for race number 2. It's the reverse grid, which means Andre Hildebrand is going to lead us into turn number 1. We've got some of the drivers all starting to warm up, rev up their engines. And we've got the 6 lights going. Race director is just making us wait a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lights. And we are off. So a very good start for Hildebrand. He leaves some time marks squealing through. And the rest of the field starts piling on. We can see 3 wide there in the background. Not exactly sure whose car that is. As the drivers start piling through. Hildebrand and then Atinagel leading the pack. Van Beek chasing down 3rd position. And everyone getting away very cleanly for a 2nd race. So looking very good. See there Van der Westhuizen looking for a way around the outside, not going to find it. As we pile on through Tower Bend. Now through the Jim Clark S's, you kind of want to go through in a single file. Some of the cars almost running too wide. I think that is going to be Van Heeren and Van Beek battling it out for position. So Sunny in. Van Wyk just sitting on the bumper of Van Heerden. He's got another car. He's got Van Westhuizen looking for a position behind him. Lots of shuffling. Hence he settled themselves into the turn. And that's going to be Van Westhuizen driving around the outside. Progressing quite well for a first lap. A little bit of contact there with Van Wyk as Van Wyk moves up. So expect Van Westhuizen to try and make a pass a little bit later through the lap. So, while this has all been happening, Atti, Nagel and Hildebrand swap positions. So we've got Atti in first place. Unfortunately, one of the cars going wide back there. And that's going to be Van Wyk falling back a few places. But Atti Nagel securing that first position and Hildebrand following behind. Now Van Heerden looking for an opportunity as he goes on the inside of Hildebrand. Some respectful racing from both drivers as they leave space for one another. Van Heerden sticking to his line and Hildebrand giving him some space. Hildebrand is going to try and come back. He's going to go a little bit wide. As they are side by side going into Sunny Inn. Van Heerden pulling ahead, and I think Hildebrand might have realized he was not going to get anything done through these two corners. Massive gap opening up between Atti and Van Heerden as Van Heerden and Hildebrand start fighting for position here. Hildebrand and Van Westhuizen also now very close to one another as they go through the complex. And a whole array of different racing lines being taken. Unfortunately, that's going to be a lot of contact there and the entire grid shuffling. One of the big winners, Keen Goos, into second position. Somehow available to avoid all of that, and I think his dad is going to be jumping up and down. Now the race is on between Gijsbert Attinagel and Keen Goos. Behind them, James Leach Sr., another winner out of the whole situation. He's going to be in third. I think he can be very happy with that. He's got Sean Johnson pressuring him from behind, so that's going to be one hell of a fight between the two of them. But that contact there has shuffled the entire pack. Sean Johnson on the inside of Leach, going to make the pass very cleanly through Tower Bend, and that's going to be them racing off to the Jim Clark S's. But further back, Maurits van Wyk trying to close down the gap between himself and James Leach Sr. See right in front of him. But Leach able to keep up with Johnson in front of him. Now hopefully he's able to utilize that pace from his opponent and not fall back too much, although it does seem like Leach has made a little bit of a mistake. And unfortunately for Van Wyk finding the tyre barriers, that's going to be James Leach moving up into fourth. It's also going to promote Van Westhuizen, Van Heerden, and yeah, the rest of them. Ooh, a little bit of a slip up there from Leach Sr., and that's going to cost him 2 places. A bit frustrating, but that's the cost of keeping your car on track if your rear tires give in on you a little bit. Johnson now on the back end of Keen Goos. Keen not really able to find the pace that I thought he would. I think that might be that car right behind him. Sean Johnson putting the pressure on him and keeping him honest. Into Tower Bend they go. Johnson keeping a very tight line through there, kind of hugging the apex through the corner. I think that might be one of the places where he's finding some time on Keen Goos. Unfortunately, more bad luck for Sean Olivier. He's got trouble with his connection. On board with Keen Goes, and he's actually finding some pace. I think with the clean air that he's got, Atinagel might just be finding a little bit more clean air than Goes is able to at the moment. So that's going to be 8/10 faster for Goes on this particular lap. Ati lapping in the 137s, the high 137s, Keen Goes on the low 37s. He's going to want to drop that into the 36s if he wants to make any type of difference on that gap between himself and Atinagel. Between himself and Gijsbert Atinagel. Down the back straight they go. I think Johnson is also just holding behind, trying to keep up with Goes' pace. And that's also going to reap some rewards for him when they finally get up to the race leader. Some action here between Van Beek and Hildebrandt. They go up to Tower Bend. Hildebrandt going for the inside line, trying to go for a very tight line. And he's able to make it. So under braking, that's some solid driving from Hildebrandt there. And a very nice pass indeed. I think he's going to be very happy with that. So Hildebrandt moving up into 6th position. Through the Jim Clark S's. That's going to be Hildebrandt, Van Beek and Van der Westhuizen all very close to one another. They need to be careful here because if there's a little bit of weird braking going on from Hildebrandt's side, that could propagate down to the other two drivers. Van Beek unfortunately tries to look on the inside. That's compromised his line enough for Van der Westhuizen to slip by. And Hildebrandt is the one that's profiting from this as there's a bit of fighting going on behind him. Hildebrandt running very deep on the outside. Although he's able to keep ahead of Van der Westhuizen and get outside of drafting range. So now through Claveau into Hawthorne Bend. Ooh, and a little bit of oversteer. And even more so from Van Beek. So Van Beek is going to drop behind. Now we've got Van der Westhuizen on the rear, side by side to Van der Westhuizen. To Hildebrandt. So Hildebrandt running on the inside, able to regain the position from Van der Westhuizen. So very defensive driving, but he's done well for himself. So still fighting for that position. Van der Westhuizen not willing to give up as they go through CROFT and into Sunny Inn. Van der Westhuizen is not really finding a line of attack yet. Into Sunny out and now setting up for the complex. And I suspect, I wasn't suspecting that, so try to look on the inside. Professor is not going to find the opportunity. So now through the complex into the hairpin. At this point, Van der Westhuizen needs to be looking at optimizing that exit. A bit of oversteer there from Hildebrandt, so that's lost him a bit of time on the exit, although he is lapping 1.5 seconds better than his personal best. So he's done really well with that. Van der Westhuizen taking a nice wide entry. Hildebrandt unfortunately running off track, and that has been gracious enough to give Van der Westhuizen the space to go on through. He knows he's lost the position and he's avoided some contact on that re-entry, so some good driving there from Hildebrandt. So even in the wake of his mistakes, he's still very aware of his opponents around him. Out in front, Atinagel having a very lonely race. He's actually upping the pace. He's finding 3/10 on his personal best time. And there in the background you can see Keen Goos slightly pressuring him. I think Ati knows that there's a little fast guy behind him, and Sean Johnson also slightly still keeping up, although a 3-second gap. I think Johnson just can't find an answer to the pace that Goos has in hand. Although it's now all going to come down towards who can keep up the pace near to the end of the race. Goos 8/10 faster that lap. Both himself and Gijsbert Atinagel running in the 136s. Goos running a 136 flat. So he is putting the foot down. He is chasing Atinagel and trying to hunt for him. Marius van Beek closing down the gap on Hildebrand. And he's going to try and see if he can force an error from Hildebrand and maybe gain a position out of it. But the rest is also closing down the gap on Leach Senior. And this is a tricky one. He does have an experienced driver in front of him. So he needs to look at where is he going to find that opportunity to attack. He does seem to be able to keep up. So on the inside of Leach Senior, and I think that seems like Leach has let him by. I think Leach might have recognized that there's a bit more pace in hand for Van der Breggen, so he didn't want to risk an accident out of that situation. So a 136.7 for Atinagel, a 136.0 for Goos. So that's 7/10 a lap. He still has a little bit to go. It's going to come down to the wire, because it's 1.5 minutes per lap. We've got 6.5 minutes left, and then an extra lap after that. So there is enough time for him to catch Atinagel if it goes on like this. But catching up is one thing, passing is a whole nother ball game. But he's definitely seeing, he's got Atinagel in his vision. It's very, very close. So I think that might just be helping him along, just getting that extra bit of pace out, making him push that much harder. You can see on this lap already 5/10. There's the perfect exit right through there, nice and wide onto the curb, utilizing all of the space that the track offers into the complex. This is the difficult one. And then into the hairpin, and hairpin is always so tricky, especially if it goes onto the straight. There's so much time that you can lose. Looking at the times again, a 136.3 and a 135.3 from Goos. That is a massive improvement in time. You can see he's basically sliding the rear through that little chicane through Clairvaux. Through the chicane, and that's looking very good. The Goos is a man on a mission. I see Craig Wesley saying Keen has the NOS turned way up. Either that, or he's got a bag of salt in the back of his car with some extra downforce on the rear wheels. But he is doing really well. And some more references to NOS. Yeah, this is looking very good. See James Cook supporting Keen. Cleopa is saying he thinks that Keen will catch Gijsbert Atinagel. And you can see there Gijsbert in front, now having to deal with some back markers. So I think Olivier might have been able to rejoin us. That is possibly him being overtaken right there. So in the background we can see Keen Goos, and he's lost some time. I don't know what happened there. We looked away for about 2 seconds. Yeah, that's a 1:39.8. He lost a ton of time with the back markers. This is a bit of a rough one. So I can imagine Gijsbert Attinaugel being very happy with this. It's quite frustrating for Goos seeing that happen. But it's always difficult with the back marker, and it's always going to be very, very tricky. I know if you run in a multi-class race, that kind of becomes part of the racing, and there you kind of learn to maybe pick your moments for overtaking. But as a young driver, I think he's showing a lot of potential. And unfortunately, learning a few things the hard way. So Gijsbert Attinaugel is going to be very relieved, and I think he might start thinking about optimizing for securing his position. So maybe not push as hard. The last thing that Gijsbert Attinaugel wants to do now is to slip up through one of the corners and to end up losing time. So let's look at the lap times. That's going to be a 1:36.7 for Attinaugel. He's not lifted off the throttle really. He's been going for it. And a 1:35.5 from Goos. So Goos still trying to place himself in a position for any kind of mistake being to his favor. So Goos knows he just needs to place himself in a good position for if Atti is going to push his car too much. It also means Atti cannot relax. He needs to push. And that could force an error. So Atti now very focused at this point. This is crucial for his race right here. The only person that can really go against him here is himself. So he just needs to hold on that much longer. Goos placing himself in a good position, not giving up, just making sure that he is there if there's a mistake. And that's the racing spirit. Even though you made a mistake, you put yourself a bit backwards, you're still racing as hard as you can, just going for it. So I think we might get another 2 laps if Attinaugel is able to cross the line before the clock hits 0. Let's see, 30 seconds left. That's going to be comfortably across the line. So we're going to see 2 more laps of racing. And unfortunately, I don't think Atti is going to be happy with that. There's nothing you can change about it, but I think 1 lap extra is 1 lap too much for Gijsbert at the moment. He does not want to risk it, but he's going to have to work for it. So, charging on through towards Tower Bend. Looking very solid indeed. You can see he's losing a little bit on his best time, but that's okay. That's 1/2 That's within margin of error. Hildebrand making the pass for breaks in the background, but for now we're just keeping an eye here on the lead. We want to see what happens. So Attinaugel looking very solid, looking very consistent. A little bit of time lost there through Sunny Inn. I can imagine the amount of sweat that's pouring down this man's back at the moment. Through the complex. This is probably one of the most vulnerable portions of the circuit. It's so easy to step a wheel out too far. If you're too aggressive on the throttle, you're losing time. And that's a nice and neat little exit out of the hairpin. Into the last lap. 3 seconds between Goos and Atinago. No real risk of an overtake. This man just needs to keep it together. So we'll go on board with him for the last lap and see what he can do. So through the chicane, getting the foot down, setting up for Tower Bend. He's finding massive amounts of time for this lap. Braking nice and hard. Trying to go for a late apex, missing the apex slightly. You can see it costing him some time. But I'm not going to hold that against him, especially with the pressure that's being asserted from behind. Sitting up nice and wide here. Just put flat through Barcroft. And now Sunny in. And you be very careful here because you'll essentially don't have time to really set up for Sunny out. And through Sunny out he goes. Nice little wide exit. Not losing too much time on his lap. Looking very good. Now into the complex. Looking very solid indeed. We're holding our breaths into the hairpin. It just needs a solid exit. So that's going to be Atinago across the line for a well fought for first position. It's been very hard going and he's made it. I think he's going to be very proud of that victory. Behind him, Keen Goos still getting very solid points in second position. Then Sean Johnson third. With a little bit of a battle between himself and Van Heeren until the end of the race. Van Heeren coming across in fourth. Rian van der Westhuizen coming through the hairpin for fifth position. We've got James Leach Sr. in a sixth position. Then behind him, Van Beek. A little bit of a mistake on the hairpin, but making sure he gets across the line safely and in his position. And then behind him, Hildebrandt coming down the main straight. Looking very solid indeed. And then Donnie Stander rounding out the back of the grid. He's coming through the complex now. And then unfortunately, Sean Willefeer in 10th position. So congratulations to all of the drivers. I'm quickly just going to check on what things are looking like for Div 1, and if we've got time, I'll pull some drivers in for interviews. I'll be right back. I apologize that I've been keeping you waiting. I'm still just trying to get a hold of some of the drivers. In terms of the one race, we're 7 minutes into the practice, so we're just getting lined up for that race as well. Should be ready shortly. So yeah, I'll be with you in a second again. I'm just going to put some music on for you, and then I'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. So I've got Ati Nagel here with me, and I must say, Ati, that last race was definitely one that probably had you sweating in your seat as you were driving through that. Just run us through what that race was like for you in terms of getting started, and then what it was like for you near the end when Ghost was hunting you down.
Well, the biggest thing is always the start, first couple of corners. That's always the difficult part. Getting away, preventing someone bumping into you. It is a race after all. After, I think it was turn 3 or turn 4, I had the lead and I started building up. Yeah, there was quite an easy race from there up until I saw there was a crash on the last corner just before pit straight, where Kian came past, and yeah, Kian was just flying. The only thing I could do at this stage was to keep my consistency up and hope for the best.
And that consistency definitely paid off at the end. We were definitely watching you those last few laps and just holding our breaths as you were going through those corners. But yeah, congratulations on that race. And any shout outs from your side?
Yeah, just thanks for everyone that's joining, everyone that's watching. I know it's Division 1 that's coming up now, Division 1. So see you all there.
Thank you very much, Ati. So I'm just going to put you all just on once again with some music. We've got 4 minutes left of practice for Division 1. And I'll just quickly see if I can ask Melvin whether Kian wants to have a bit of a word with us. Otherwise, we'll be swapping over to the qualifying session for Division 1. Welcome back, everyone. So we are getting ready for the Div 1 race. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get Kian on an interview for now. His dad is actually practicing in here. So let me see if I can actually spot Melvin Coates as he's just exiting the pits right now. He's still configuring a few things, just setting it up towards his preferences. Not sure if he's sharing a rig with his son, but I would suspect that that would be the case. If you are fortunate enough to have both a rig for yourself and your son, then that is a very fortunate place to be. I'm looking at the Facebook chat at the moment, and Cleopas saying, so Div 2 was Igoli, well Div 1 be Simdalon. I'm just hoping there's a lot less murders in Div 1 than normally is in Simdalon, because it feels like every time I see an episode of Simdalon, there's just a murder happening. That being said, my sister is the one that watches it, not me. Also, I see we've got someone new here commenting, so it's Talia Williams saying, here to support my husband in his first ever Division 1 race. So that's going to be, I assume, Matt Williams, and that is always nice when you've got your spouse supporting you. I'll quickly see if Matt's out on track, and he is indeed. So Matt's got some support from his wife there in the YouTube channel, and it's always, yeah, there I see go Matt Williams. So it's nice to see some of his family members here as well. I see Tommy Leary Moss saying that Kian's father can be very proud of his performance. I definitely agree. And then Atinaho also doing very well. It's difficult when you've got someone pressuring you from behind like that, and to keep the consistency up, to not make mistakes. So that was also a phenomenal drive. Okay, so we are setting up for a very fun race. Quite a few of the pack jumping into the 135s. So 4 of them into the 135s, and then Van Rooyen with the 136 flat. So Steven Sparks looking good for making a little bit of chaos, throwing the cats among the pigeons, because as we know, Mitchell is a bit of a regular in regards to the front of the pack, but Sparks is a very new name, and then we've got Leach Jr. in there as well. Ooh, and Mitchell, I don't think that's Mitchell. Sorry, it is Williams. We're still watching Williams. That's stepping out the rear a little bit there. Just figuring out where the limits of his car are. Cleopas saying, like, at these times, looks like they're going to give us a nice and crazy race. It's extremely close. For a track with a time of 130 something, having everyone that close together is quite insane, to say the least. So practice is done. Everyone's going to return to the pits. I'm then going to quickly move you guys to ads, and then we should get going for qualifying. I think this might be a good opportunity to actually run through the standings again, although let's do that when we've got a clean screen in front of us. So I'll send you to ads, and then we will catch up shortly. Welcome back, everyone. So we are set up and ready to get going. It's qualifying for Division 1. It's going to be the qualifying for the first race for the 2 races that we've got for this evening. And it's going to be quite interesting to see what's going to happen. In terms of the current standings, so there's Mitchell leading the standings with 383 points, and then closely behind Timo Smit with a 360. Sorry, Peter Grobler a 159, Alvin Goos a 350, Dylan Versage 342, and then James Crook with a 340. So lots of drivers very close together here at the start of the championship. It's round 3, so it's going to be interesting to see how everything ends up. Yeah, James Crook, Richard van Heerden, Tommy Nerimas, Michael Rust, Mornay Deploy, Ian Upton, Craig Wesley, and then Peter Geldenhuis, Herman Nieuwoud, Sean Johnson, Andre Hildebrand, and then we kind of get into the Div 2 guys. I think some of the Div 1 drivers in here might have missed a few races. So we've got Sean Olivier, and then we've got Rian van der Westhuizen, Dani van der Rooyen, Marius van Wyk, Steven Sparks. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. Alistair Barnard, Willem Steyn, Dani Stander, James Leach, Sean Weber, Ilke Berenga, Basil van Rijn, Pavi Goos, Dean van Wyk, Stuart Mack, Keen Goos, James Leach Jr., Gijsbert Atinagel, Matt Williams, and Nico Smith. Again, we're driving at CROFT in the United Kingdom. Track used to be an old airbase, but it's kind of come into its own throughout the years. It's going to be interesting to see. We've got the main pit straight heading into Clairvaux and Orton Bend. So there's almost like a chicane going through there. And then out of Orton Bend you've got another chicane. Then onto probably one of the best straights for an attack into Tower Bend. So there's a little kink in the road, but it's still possible to run alongside one another. Then out of Tower Bend you've got the Jim Clark S's, which is going to complicate things if you want to mount an attack through there. Then Barcroft also making things a bit difficult. And then into Sunny Inn, we've seen a few attacks there. Sunny out, very difficult two corners to get right. And then the complex and hairpin at the end of the lap, that's going to be crucial for the pit straight, and that's going to affect your lap times quite a bit. Again, just looking at the weather, it's a bit later than 3 p.m. at the moment because we've already had practice and everything, but it's nice and clear. Track is sitting at 31 degrees Celsius and 21 degrees Celsius for the air temperature, so nice and cool for the engines, and the track also at a very optimal temperature for some good racing. So we're just waiting for some times to come in. I'm already seeing some times being logged for the drivers. But it's all going to come through at the end here. Just waiting for the timing tower to update and inform us of what's going on. Everyone's still slightly bunched together here through the last parts of the circuit. You can see a lot of cars very close together. Right, so times are coming in, and we've got Melvin Goos right up top at a 1:35.778. And that's close to what his son's been doing in Div 2. So I think they might have been training together a little bit, making sure they use the same, utilize the same lines, all of that. There's Mitchell taking provisional pole with a 1:35.7, and very close to him, of course, is Malmgoos. Then Peter Grobler in third position, and we've got Steven Sparks in fourth, again with a 1:35.85. So things looking very good for these drivers. And the rest of the pack kind of filing in. Just a bit of a shout out for position number 13, Mornay Deploy. He's been doing the wonderful video work for us, getting all of the videos set up for the promotional videos for the series intros and all of that. Unfortunately, the broadcasting on my side has been powered by the same internet that powers a Haas engine, so there has been some struggles on that point, but he's been doing some real nice work for us in regards to the overlays, videos and all of that. So big thanks to this man right here. Right, 3 minutes to go, so potentially one more lap for everyone, well, 2 more laps for everyone at least, as we start settling into our positions. Mitchell finding a bunch of time in the start of the lap and immediately losing it through Horton Bend, so I'm not exactly sure what's happened there. There might have been some oversteers, so I'm going to jump around a little bit and see if we can find someone with a positive delta. So Steven Sparks, unfortunately, stepping his rear wheel outside, and that's going to cost him a bunch of time. Another name that feels a bit new is Castellan. So Steven Castellan finding a bit of time through Horton Bend, and he's going to find that time for the back straight as well. He's nailed the chicane and into Tower Bend. This is going to be crucial for his times. He doesn't need much, but he does need a better time. Van Rooyen jumping up in the standings to first position with a 1:35.677. That's very good indeed. So Castellan unfortunately not able to find the time through the second sector of the lap. And it does seem like the third sector is going to be a little bit difficult. We'll see what he's able to do through sunny out. And he has redeemed himself. He has found some time, but now he has the complex to deal with. And Leitwanger, that's a new name. Eric Leitwanger jumping into first position with a 1:35.308. Unfortunately, Castellan just running a little bit deep on the hairpin and losing 4/10 as a result. So Leitwanger was, and in Upton also moving into third position. So some interesting times coming through now near the end of the session. Leitwanger is a bit of a new name to the front of the pack, so we'll be keeping an eye on him. He's had a screamer overlap. I think he's relaxed a bit after that. It's always difficult to put in a faster lap after you've just done one. But Ryan crossing the line just in time, so he's going to be able to get another lap in. We'll keep an eye to see if he's got an answer for that screamer of a lap from Leitwanger. And Donny van Rooyen finding 2/100ths. So So that's pretty much within the margin for error. Peter Grobler jumping up into second position. It's not the first time he's had some good laps, so he's jumping up in front there. And it's going to be interesting to see whether he's able to keep that going for the rest of the race. But things looking good for Peter Grobler and Eric Leitwanger. Eric is in the pit, so he's not going to be able to put another time. Van Rooyen is not going to have an answer for that lap. He's just gone off into the grass. Ian Upton doesn't find the time. Steven Castellan still busy with the lap, not finding the time. James Crook down in his delta, so not finding time. And Mornay Deploy on an outlap, so he's not going to put in a better time than that. Tommy Leary Moss going into the pits. So this should be the grid for the race. So a bit of an interesting podium for this race is going to be Leitwanger, Peter Grobler, Van Rooyen, Upton, Mitchell, Leach Jr., then Melvin Goos, Sparks, Castellan, Crook, and that's the first 10 positions all in the 135 mark, which is extremely impressive. That's basically all the drivers within the top 10 drivers within 7/10 of one another. That is actually quite insane. And then Wesley, Barnard, Versace, Deploy, Franco, Moss, Marais, Geldenhuys, and Knutser. Knutser running out the pack, and then we've also got Michael Rust and Matt Williams, slightly off our timing board at the moment. So while we wait for these drivers to settle into their bits, I'm going to have a quick look at the YouTube chat. Melvin saying it's close, gonna have to drive 110%. So he's been keeping an eye on his opponents here in the YouTube channel. Cleopas very impressed with the split. And yeah. So I'm going to send you all to ads. These guys do not want to come into the pits, even though their engineers are telling them, listen, come in, you need to prepare for the race. But they're just having one ball of a time. So we'll leave them to it, send you to ads, and then bring you back once they've decided to get their cars set up for the race. Welcome back, everyone. So you are watching Sim Experience South Africa. We are here with the Div 1 group on CROFT, and we're gearing up for race number 1. Everyone's got their engines revving, the setups are ready for the race, and we've got the lights up. So it's 6 lights. All of the lights are on, and we are off. So a screamer of a start for the 2 drivers in the front of the grid. That's going to be Grobler and Leitwanger. And you can see Leitwanger just running very far on the inside. Unfortunately, major contact there between Grobler and Leitwanger. And the rest of the grid is going to file on through. One of the big winners there is going to be Dani van Rooyen, who's just screened past everyone ahead of the chaos, and he's benefited massively from that. So then Melvin Goos and Steven Castellan bring up 2nd and 3rd, and you can see 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all within a second of the car in front of them. So nice and closely together. A little bit of oversteer there from, I think it's Leach Jr. And Wesley is going to be looking at an opportunity here. You can see the back end of Leach's car very, very loose. Wesley's going to be thinking about a little bit of an opportunity there. Right, into Sunny in, through Sunny out. Just sticking behind one another. I think Craig is slightly settling in behind Leach at the moment. I think he might be waiting for the hairpin to see if there's going to be a mistake from Leach. And we'll see whether that happens. He does have Versaki to contend with, although Versaki just spinning out there. Wesley running wide, so Barnard is going to profit from that as he moves on up a single position. Out in front, Goos under pressure from Castellan. As Castellan keeps within 6/10, tries to keep that fight going. Crook under pressure from Versaki. Versaki running a bit of a wider line through the corner. Into the chicane they go. There you can see the white car of Tommy Leary-Moss. So everyone piles on through. So up the inside goes Crook, and that's going to give him the position on Versaki, although Versaki is trying to cut back and get some momentum going. They're going to run side by side. And that's a wonderful view. Unfortunately, one of the cars, that's going to be Crook, that has unfortunately gone off. That might have been some contact there. Castellan still keeping up there with Goos. They just need to be cognizant of not costing one another too much time, as they don't want Goos, for the Rooyen to drive off into the sunset. Some really fast lap times coming in now. Van Rooyen with the 136.2, so they're just getting started. 136.0 and the 135 for Castellan. Leach also into the 135, so charging ahead. Castellan now 3.5 tenths behind Goos. And on the back straight they go, so out of Hawthorne Bend. A little bit of position changing. I think that might have been Galdenaes that had an accident somewhere, and he's dropping back in the back. On the inside, Castellan just showing the nose, looking for opportunity, and not going to find it with Goos. They're also closing in on Van Rooyen in front of them. The gap's down to 1.8 seconds. Unfortunately, I'm now looking at the grid, and in 18th position we've got Mitchell, who's qualified quite well, but unfortunately got caught up in that turn 1 chaos. Right through Sunny out. Castellan losing some time through the second sector of the circuit. Not really finding an opportunity. So now into the complex they go. Castellan running a very restricted line, not really utilizing the exit that much, so he might be looking at rather setting up for a faster exit out of the final corner. Right, 135s for the two front runners, and then Castellan and Leach in the 136s. And unfortunately, that's going to be Leach running very wide. And again, not exactly sure what's happening there. But that was two corners in succession that was run very wide. But that's definitely cost them some time. Someone who's moving up into the back is Barnard, Alistair Barnard, on the inside of Wesley here, trying to look for an opportunity, but not going to find it. So the very close battle between Wesley, Barnard and Sparks. So don't count Sparks out yet. Barnard, knowing that he's got a fast driver behind him, he needs to get this pass done quickly. You're not going to be able to do it around the outside. He was showing a little bit of nose there on the outside of the circuit. And some contact, it might have seemed, between Sparks and Barnard. Both drivers kind of giving one another a bit of space afterwards, so I think that might have just been accidental. Into the complex they go. Barnard right on the bonnet of Wesley on the inside, and that's a very, very dangerous attempt right there. They call it the vortex of death, since if you're going to stick your nose on the inside there and you don't have the car alongside, that gap is going to close, and of course things are going to happen. So side by side, Barnard and Sparks, although Barnard getting ahead in front of him. Sparks on the inside looking to get the pass, and unfortunately runs both of them off the track, and Barnard the one to lose out there. So Fasaki moving up ahead, and some hard racing happening in the middle of the pack. Castellan still behind Goos, and this is now starting to slow them down a little bit. I think Goos is very distracted by Castellan behind him. So Goos very much focusing on defending for position, and that's giving a whole lot of space for Van Rooyen out in front. Fasaki and Steven are running very close together, and Fasaki knows that Steven does have a little bit of pace in him, and he's going to be careful in looking for an opportunity to pass. Now through the complex, they're keeping nice and close. It's right on the bottom, and if you look at the track map on the right hand side of the screen, you can see the whole middle of the pack is still bunched together, so everyone's still staying nice and close. A lot of things happening at the same time. 135s for Castellan, and I think that was Leach, and some fastest times coming in for the rest of the drivers. Crook way back also in 13th doing 135, and that's someone wide off track. That looks like Wesley might have run wide, and that's opened up the door for Sparks. And there's Fasaki also moving up on the inside, so unfortunately Wesley losing a bit. You can see he's really struggling with the rear of his car. Barnard is also now going to look at the opportunity here. He's got a bit of a basic advantage due to that mistake, and that's maybe a bit of a wide line, and you really don't want to go onto that dirty concrete with your wheels. Barnard driving around the outside, trying to outpace Wesley. Is he going to be able to make it though? And right at the end he's able to get the overtake done. Castellan has now dropped back a little bit, and hopefully that gives Ghost a little bit of an opportunity to focus on catching up with Van Rooyen in front of him. Both drivers doing 135.6s. So Van Rooyen getting the foot down and really charging on ahead. Someone that we haven't kept an eye on, this man in 13th position, Robert Franco. Doing well for himself. I apologize, I think I might be having some packet loss issues on my side. Well, that's what the freezing looks like. Okay, so we're past a third of the way through, and there's been a lot that's been happening. So a whole shake-up of the pack in lap 1, and it has resulted in some interesting racing. Peter Krobler looking at the back end of Tommy Moss, trying to get that gap closed down. He's got Knutse behind him as well. And Knutse is also looking for opportunity here, so Krobler needs to be very careful. And he gets this exit exactly right. Slightly held up with Tommy Moss on the apex there. That's going to open up the door for Knutse. You can see Knutse pulling her out to the outside, but not really finding the speed without the draft, and is going to try and set up for the next sector of the lap. So Tommy Moss now very aware of Krobler behind him. I can hear them really modulating the throttle pedal, struggling for grip. It's close racing between these drivers. Another driver that's been caught out by the start is Dennis Mitchell. So you can see Dennis there trying to get the attack mounted on Franco. 4 tenths between Franco and Mitchell. We do know that Mitchell has been qualifying with a rapid pace, but he's just been struggling here with this first sector of this first part of the race. I think he might have gotten some damage from that lap 1 incident. So right on the back of Franco, 2 tenths separating them, and Mitchell hooking the car onto the apex, but doesn't really have anywhere to go with the speed through going through that. So down the main straight, and Mitchell has lost a lot of time to Franco now. I think that might have been a very bad last sector for him. Franco jumping into the 135, so proving that he's got some pace in the hand as well, and trying to get away from Mitchell right behind him. Now out in front, Leach Jr. catching up with Castellan, and you can see he's just looking for an opportunity to get past. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the closing speed yet, but he's going to try and set up for Sunny in. Just following nice and closely. And now into Sunny out. Looking at the inside line, doesn't have the closing speed and jumps back behind Leach. Behind Castellan. And Goos in the meanwhile has closed in on Van Rooyen. 1.5 seconds, 1.6. So now putting some pressure on Van Rooyen, and this last third of the race is going to be very interesting indeed. Leach trying to go for a bit of a switchback there, not finding the pace, but looking and poking and prodding to seeing where is the kink in Castellan's armor. As we go into Turbo. It's so difficult to follow through here. And then through Horton Bend, this is very easy to run wide on. And they are going to go almost side by side for the chicane. And on the inside now for Leach Jr. Sorry, outside. Castellan defending on the inside. It's all going to come down to braking. Both drivers getting a very good braking phase for the corner. They're going to still run side by side into the Jim Clark S's now. Leach pulling ahead of Castellan. And getting the overtake done. But it's not over yet. Castellan is still 2 tenths behind, and they're going to try and pull side by side for Sunny in and out. Unfortunately, not enough speed for Castellan to be able to do that. And I think Leach Jr. might be opening up a little bit of a gap. He's going to have to try and break the gap between Castellan, get that 0.5 second gap for the draft. But that's not going to happen yet. So onto the main straight. Castellan returning the pressure onto Leach Jr. and fighting for that third position. Out in front, Van Rooyen is sitting with a comfortable 2-second lead. And it's going to be interesting to see whether he's able to sustain that lead. It's 3.5 minutes left. Then he needs to cross the line, and then it's a final lap. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up. In terms of timings, Castellan still fighting back and trying to get closer to Leach, but not really finding the pace. Some action here between Crook and Knutzer, running side by side through Tower Corner. 1.5 tenths, so not much separating these two cars into the Jim Clark S's. You can see Crook just streaming past, trying to find some speed. Through Barcroft, Sunny in, and then Sunny out. So he's lost some time through that second sector. And that's going to scare you. That's some connectivity issues there for Knutzer. But Crook still following closely nonetheless. Almost losing it with his braking marker. You can see he had to slam on the brakes there. And now into the hairpin. So he's lost some time due to that, due to those evasive maneuvers. But he's getting going again. Out in front of them, Peter Probler. Also fighting for position. Dennis Mitchell setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:35 flat. That's extremely impressive, all things considered. So Mitchell still getting the foot down, even though he is a bit further down in the pack. Now a little battle here between Moss and Grobler as they set up for the Tower Bend. Moss running slightly defensive in the middle of the track. Grobler deciding to bide his time, stay behind as they go through the Jim Clark S's. Grobler just showing the nose, and I think that's going to scare Moss quite a bit. Side by side along the inside, Grobler setting up for Sunny in. The side by side, and by the end of it, it's going to be side by side still. So Moss and Grobler just staying that as close together as possible as Grobler steps out the outside, the backside of the car. So Knutzer also, Grobler and Moss. So Moss falling behind Grobler. Unfortunately, there's been some contact. I see the car of Tommy Lee Moss, and that seems to be Crook that got caught up there as well. So Grobler now moving ahead of Wesley, who seems to have had a bit of an issue with the hairpin. As we race into the last portion of the race. So 2 laps left. Well, I say 2 laps, 1.5. As we're following this man, Van Rooyen, with Koos right behind him, 1.3 seconds. Koos has been able to bring the gap down. And he's driving faster than usual. So 0.7, I think Van Rooyen is really struggling at the moment with the pressure that he's getting from behind. And it's going to be an interesting last lap for these guys. Koos trying to use as much of the track exit that he can. And still finding that time. So 0.8 seconds. 0.6 between these drivers. Nice and heavy braking zone there. So Koos doing everything that he can. Now, through the hairpin, this is going to be crucial for setting up the attack for the next lap. And that's not what you want. You don't want oversteer like that. And you can see the delta falling away. So Koos losing time to Van Rooyen. Still, that was a 135.4 versus Van Rooyen's 136.5. So there's a massive difference between these 2 drivers. And we've got 1 lap left for it. So 0.5 seconds. 0.6. And setting up for the Tower Bend. Nice and closely together. Just behind Castellan, running 0.5 seconds behind Leach Jr. Trying to fight back for that position in the end stages of the race. Koos is struggling a little bit for pace behind Van Rooyen here. I'm not sure whether he might be a bit preoccupied with his opponent in front of him and not looking at the apex of the corner. So, through Sunny in and Sunny out, we've got a front row seat for this last bit of the battle between these 2 drivers for the lead of the race. But Rooyen must be sweating in his sim racing rig at the moment. He's got this car closing down behind him. He needs to keep it consistent for this last portion of the race. Koos running very close. And that looks like a clean exit for both drivers. So across the line, we've got Van Rooyen in first place. And then Koos, Melvin Koos, running in second. Leach Jr. with the 3rd position, which I can think he would be very happy with. Castellan, 4th position. Sparks, 5th. Dylan Versaghi, 6th. Barnard, 7th. And then Peter Grobler coming across the line. A little battle here right until the end. So Grobler, Mitchell, Wesley, Knutse, Branko, Leitwanger unfortunately had a bit of a rough first lap. Then Crook, Moss, Upton, Deploy, and then Marais and Nivout rounding out the back portion of the circuit. And then a man that we've not kept an eye on, but that's done really well for himself, is going to be Matt Williams. It's always difficult in your first race, especially jumping into Div 1. I'll just keep it together for the end. So Nivout in front of him going across the line. And Matt bringing it home for a 20th position. And then behind him, Peter Galna is also coming across the line for 21st position. So your race winner, Donny Van Rooyen, really fighting for it near the end. And coming under massive amounts of pressure for Melvin Koos. We will be right back. I'm going to send you some ads as usual. And then we will be back with race 2 for Division 1. It's going to be a reverse grid. So Matt is going to have some practice with race starts at the front of the grid. Is going to be really interesting for both us to watch and for him to experience. And then we will be back with you shortly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're setting up for race number 2. And we have Pieter Geldenhuys and Matt Williams on the front row of the grid. We've got a reverse grid for race number 2, so it's going to be a very interesting start. We've already had a very exciting race number 1. Drivers are revving up the engines. We've got the lights lighting up. And we are off. So a bit of a slow start for Matt Williams. Pieter Geldenhuys is getting away very cleanly. And you can see Tian Murray looking for an open lane. He's getting all the way on the inside. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. Although they all get through nice and cleanly. Matt Williams dropping back to 3rd. Just get a very comfortable and safe start. Nothing wrong with that. Ian Upton moving into 4th position. And a little bit of chaos further back in the field. So Tommy Moss now looking at Nibot, already getting a good start of it, back up to 7th position, so he's going to be very happy with this. And then out in front, the cars started to separate themselves with 0.5 seconds or more. And Nibot running very wide indeed. Probler now closing the gap on Leitwanger. A little bit of a battle going on here. Leitwanger getting very out of shape. Barely keeping control of his car, but not making contact with anyone, which is good. But that's dropped him back a little bit. Unfortunately, that's going to be someone open. That's Leitwanger losing the rear of the car. Further up ahead, Deploy in a massive battle here for 4th, 5th, and I think that's 6th. A little bit of contact between Matt Williams and Deploy, but nothing wrong there. So everyone gets through the hairpin cleanly. Williams finding him in a 3-wide situation with Tommy Leary Moss right there behind him. Some interesting lines, and I think that might be Sparks that's gone off wide there in turn number 1. Matt Williams doing very well to survive that. Deploy running in a very comfortable 4th at the moment. He's fighting in Upton for position. This is a really good position for him to be in. So we know his history from, unfortunately, that's going to be Williams losing control of his car. That's all come down to pressure. It's really difficult when you've got the pressure that you're not used to absorbing. But hoping that he makes a good recovery. Deploy trying to make the switch back on Upton, not finding the pace yet. So we know them from the Aussie V8 series, and they've both been battling very hard there. That's probably already a month or 2 ago, but you know they were very competitive in that series. Out in front, Pieter Geldenhuys. So we've not even looked at the lead yet. So much going on in the middle of the pack, but Pieter Geldenhuys and Tian Murray having a bit of a dice here down the main straight. You can see Murray has a bit more pace in hand. Sorry, Tian Murray has a little bit more pace in hand. But Geldenhuys is just trying to keep a hold of the front of the grid. Deploy moving on ahead, so that's a mistake from Upton. As you can see, a whole bunch of drivers in the pack moving ahead, and that's the difficulty of making a mistake here. You're going to have to wait for the rest of the pack to get on through before you can safely rejoin. And now Deploy is going to charge on ahead and try and get away from Tommy Moss, who's charging him down from behind. So Tian Murray looking to make up time on Pieter Geldenhuys as they go through Sunny Inn, go towards Sunny Inn. Now setting up for Sunny Out. Back in the pack, some battles here. Steven Sparks and Nivot and Grobler all very close together. Sparks getting away quite nicely. Grobler also making the pass on Nivot on the inside. Nivot still under pressure from Goos. Goos looking around around the outside and able to make the pass. Nivot now with Versace charging him down from behind. Versace diving towards the outside, trying to get the switch back. And it might look like he's gotten the better exit out of the hairpin. So Versace now in the draft as they go down towards the first turn. Nivot running slightly defensively, slightly towards the inside as they charge on through. And this looks uncharacteristically fast for these MX5s. Not sure if it's the fact that there's just so many cars on screen, but it looks like it's going to be very quick in those cars. Melvin Goos and Peter Grobler in a nice little battle. Goos looking on the inside. Not really getting the opportunity there. Behind us, Versace and Nivot swapping positions. And out in front, Deploy is still pulling a little bit of a gap between himself and Moss. So Goos and Grobler heading through Sunny in and Sunny out. And Goos dropping behind slightly. I think this second sector of the second sector of the circuit not being strongest, and now he's making up that gap, looking towards setting himself up for a nice wide entry. And now the complex is going to be crucial. He doesn't want to be too close, he doesn't want to get held up at the apex, and now he needs to get a very good exit here. So he needs to be able to get the foot down and now stay nice and close to Grobler in front of him. Unfortunately, Grobler also getting a very good exit. You can see there Goos 0.2 faster. So slightly faster, but he's going to need more pace than that. Then Van Rooyen has unfortunately been caught out with the start. He's now in the battle with Castellan. Castellan also proving that he's quite fast. So we've got some fast drivers stuck at the back of the grid, battling amongst themselves, and this is also going to make overtaking very difficult. Stefan Rooyen on the inside, Castellan giving him the space that he needs. Castellan getting a nice wide exit there, and they're going to go through the S's almost side by side. Van Rooyen keeping ahead of Castellan just by a small margin. Versace and Goos swapping position for 7 and 8. And we've got Sparks charging into front of the grid. So he's charging down Moss, who's sitting in a 4th position. Front of the grid starts making their way through, and you can see there Moss doing a 136.4, Sparks in the low 135s. So he's got some pace on Moss here, and I think this might be troubling for Deploy as well. You've got someone this fast coming up behind. So 0.2 between Moss and Sparks. See them right behind one another. Sparks trying to get his nose on the outside. He's not going to have the momentum to really outdrive Moss. It's all going to be about this exit, and Moss has compromised his own exit a little bit, giving space for Sparks, and that might have been a little bit too much space. Sparks is going to try and charge on through the slightly side by side through the Jim Clark S's, through Barcroft, and setting up for Sunny in, Sunny out. And through that, Sparks has pulled in front of Moss. So Moss is now going to try and keep up. But he just doesn't have an answer for the pace that Sparks has in hand. So Moss is going to hope for an error from his opponent here to be able to pull ahead. Some of the Parker guys making the way up through the pack again. Masaki and Ghost battling in seventh position. So they get to and fro through the complex. Now down the main straight, 3/10 between them. So not much separating these two drivers. And Ghost now slightly opening up a gap between himself and Fasaki. I think Ghost is going to be charging ahead at this point. But now the Nivo swapping position, I think that might have been a bit of an error from Nivo on track. Peter Krobler now also catching up with Tommy Leary Moss. So Moss's earlier advantage in the race is now come to an end. We're 10 minutes, or well 9 minutes left. So a little bit more racing to go. And Moss is going to have to try and get some extra pace out to hang on to that 5th position. Behind them, Fasaki and Ghost still battling quite hard for position. Fasaki just sticking the rear out as he's entering the complex. Now into the hairpin, so again, exits are crucial here. Fasaki just running slightly behind, so not really getting the advantage that he wanted. So he'll just stick behind, and then we'll also start looking at catching up with Krobler. Ray now still keeping 1.2 seconds behind Kalnice. And the play still in a comfortable 3rd position. Krobler and Moss finally making the pass on one another. Moss running towards the outside. So not really defending his position. And that's going to allow Krobler to once again go on the inside. And Ghost is coming into play as well. Moss now positioning him on the inside of the turn. As they go too wide through that corner. A little bit of a bump. And Moss getting ahead of... Sorry, Ghost getting ahead of Moss. So unfortunately, that is the risk of running too wide through that... through those Jim Clark S's. So into the complex we go. Moss still battling for position. And finding himself in a very difficult situation. So Fasaki looking for the better exit. And maybe not finding it as well as he would have wanted to. So into Claveau we go, and then Hawthorne Bend. And I think Krobler is also within striking distance of Ghost in front there. Moss running very close to the apex of the corner, losing a bit of speed. And Fasaki now sitting right on his rear. And you can see Moss running towards the inside defensively and trying to hold on to his position. Fasaki going for the old switchback and finding the better line, and he's charged on through ahead of Moss. Already just hanging behind Kalnice. He's been at arm's length for the entire race, but he's not fallen behind. So I suspect he might get a bit distracted when he's following, but when he's this far behind, with a 1.2 second gap, he can easily focus on his own race, and that's allowed him to stay nice and close to Peter Kalnice in front of him. And behind them, Ornate Deploy, also having a bit of a lonely race, but if you can keep your position, that's normally not a problem. So 5.5 minutes left, and things are settling into position. Some shuffling going on in the back of the grid. I think that might be Barnard making some mistakes in the complex. So Kesselin running in front of Barnard. Barnard unfortunately having a very slow lap the previous lap. Close charging down Grobler. So this back end of the front end of the pack now trying to settle into position. So through Barcroft, well, through the Jim Clark S's and then through Barcroft, still keeping that exact distance. Maria is now starting to close down on Galnes out in front. 4 minutes left, and I think Galnes is going to be praying that those 4 minutes go very quickly. As you can see, Maria finding some pace in the hand. Now 5-10 separating them. He's going to start getting into drafting range, but not quite yet. You can see there 135.667 versus the 136. Sparks running a 134.9, which is extremely impressive. So he's trying to get closer to deploy. Oliver Wade with an immediate answer of a 134.651. So time's tumbling as the drivers are starting to settle into their positions. Marie using a very different line to Galnes with a much later apex. That might have not worked out too well for him. Basagi, Grobler and Goos in a little bit of a scrap here as they fight for position through the Jim Clark S's. Basagi very close to Grobler. He's not going to want to spring the trap just yet, but we've got Sunny in, Sunny out ahead of us as he tries to go up the inside. Unfortunately, has to back off a little bit. Right, to the front of the pack we go, and Tian Marais now dropping back again. So Galnes found an answer for his pace, and that's kept them honest. So you can see there 135.4, 135.6. So both drivers very closely matched, and that battle is going to come down to the last few laps of the race. 2 minutes left, so 3 laps left of the race. Marais slightly stepping out the rear and almost losing it. Bit of a scary moment for him there. So Castellan unfortunately dropping back in the grid. I think with the time difference in the lap, that's a bit of a mistake from his side. Marais trying to recover from his mistake from earlier, and I think Galnes is going to be happy with that. But now the pressure is, or the ball is in Deploy's court, as he's starting to close down the gap between himself and Marais. You can see he's already down on his delta in terms of time, or improving on his delta. So he's trying to hunt down, but he also probably wants to get away from Sparks behind him. So this is going to be a stressful last sector of the race for him. So now through the hairpin, getting a nice wide exit, and I think that might have opened up the gap between himself and Sparks. 2 more laps left, as the leader crosses the line with 30 seconds left to go. Deploy putting in his own personal best for the race. So he's definitely putting the foot down. He wants to get away from Sparks behind him, and Sparks running very wide. And that's going to be a big relief for Deploy as Sparks loses some time trying to follow. Murray once again has got the gap down slightly below a second. But he hasn't improved on his best time yet. So Gelderna is trying to keep the consistency up through this last portion of the race. Peter Grobler also in a battle with Gauss as they've been battling to and fro here in the middle of the pack for the entirety of the race. Grobler trying to run closer to the inside. Gauss jumping up and down on the outside of the track. They're going to run side by side outside of Sunny Out. That's probably tucking in behind close again. And now Versace's into the mix as well. So nice little battle between these three drivers in the last sector of the lap. Also keeping an eye on the lead. 136, 136, both leads. And then Deploy with a 135.3. So he's absolutely racing there at the end. Krolberg and Versace battling it out. Gauss getting a bit of a relief from this battle that's erupting behind him. And he's going to be in a bit of a better position for the rest of the lap. Now out in front, Murray very close to Gelderna, and then Deploy very close to Murray. So if one of these guys makes a mistake, that is game over for them. So first, second and third all very close together here at the last lap of the race. Gelderna has kept it together for the majority of the race, so he just needs to bring it home. As we go through Sunny Out, Mornay finding heaps of time. Sorry, Murray finding heaps of time. As the gap closes down even more between these drivers. Now basically a second separating these three cars. You can see Murray getting very close indeed to the back of Gelderna. That's all going to come down to the hairpin. Gelderna is parking it on the apex. Murray trying to follow, but he's now got to worry about Deploy behind him. And I think this might be how it settles. So Gelderna taking it home in the first race, then Murray Gelderna is taking it home in the second race, with Murray behind him in second. Deploy well earned third, Sparks fourth, well fought. Gauss, Grobler, Versace, Leach Jr., Moss, Van der Rooyen, Knutser, and then behind him Crook and Castellan. 14th position Barnard. Dennis Mitchell with the 15th position. Franco 16th. Wesley 17th. Nevote 18th. Upton 19th. And Matt Williams unfortunately with some damage in the pits. So he's had to retire that car. So congratulations to everyone that have finished. And I will try and go fetch the drivers for us for interviews. So just stay with me, or just hold on with me for a moment while I get that ready for you.
Paul.
Welcome back, everyone. So I've got Donnie van Rooyen here with me in voice channel, and so Donnie van Rooyen won our first race. Unfortunately, I was unable to find Gelnaes, but big congratulations, Donnie. And yeah, that was a really interesting first race. What was that like from your perspective?
It was hectic. Melvin, he pushed me. I made a little bit of a gap, and then he closed it, and I just tried to keep ahead of him. But that was hectic.
So yeah, definitely a rough first race. And then in terms of the circuit, it seems like a lot of guys were struggling with the rears of the cars. Was that the case for you, or was it just?
The rear is a bit loose, but if you know how to use a throttle, you can keep it quite planted, and you don't battle with that too much.
Definitely agree.
So throttle control has got a lot to do with how you drive these cars, especially because they don't have any horsepower. They're very slow. You need to keep your momentum.
And that's also the tricky part with a track with quite a few chicanes like this. How was dealing with the chicanes for you with these cars, and especially that complex at the end of the circuit? How difficult was that for you trying to keep the momentum going while you've still got those difficult corners?
Well, I didn't practice that much, and I got my speed up in the second half of the second race, and then I got my lines through there, and I did quite a good lap. I did a 1:34.6, and I was quite astounded about that. But if you keep momentum and you don't brake too much, that's the way to go through those chicanes and stuff.
Definitely agree. And then any shout outs from your side?
No, I don't think anyone is watching now that knows me, because I didn't think I was going to make this race because my rig was still out of I needed parts to fix it up, and I did that last night. So it was hectic to get this thing together to race tonight. So I didn't tell anybody that I was going to race tonight.
Shame, yeah, that is always a very difficult thing. I remember when I had new pedals, I completely had to take apart my entire rig. And it's so frustrating if you want to race, but you still have to do your mechanical work into the early hours of the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you so much again. Congratulations with the win. You're probably going to be very happy with that. And then the good luck for the next round. So the next round is going to be Donington Park. It's going to be extremely interesting. We're sticking to the British circuits for now. So we will see you all next time. Time is up on the screen right about now. I'm just waiting for the video to catch up. So same time, same place next week. And we will see all of you then. Thank you for all that's been watching. And then just a quick word. Thank you very much for Alvin. You've seen their logos on the cars. You've seen their ads in between. They've been sponsoring the series, kind of helping cover some of the costs for broadcasting and video work, etc. And then also big thanks to Mornay Deploy from Skinny Media. He's been doing a lot of video work as well, and he's also been involved with a bit of the admin work for the series as well. So big thanks to him. And then, yeah, from me, Jan Koreans, your commentator. Hope you have a lovely evening. For everyone that's been on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for all of the comments. I can no longer both commentate and look through all of them at the same time, which is a good thing. There's a lot of interaction with you guys. It's great to see. It's great to see the support for everyone. So thank you so much. And hope you have a lovely evening. Hope you stay safe. And thank you for watching.